morning. It's either day 24 or day 25. I should remember this, but I'm too damn cold. We had a freezing night, and there's, I'll pan and you can see the shelter back there somewhere. Or maybe not. Well, the shelter is back there. It's a decent shelter. Good company. 5 guys. It's seems to be in the low 20s according to my thermostat. My thermometer, rather. Really, really cold. Really uncomfortable. Gonna go 18 miles to Bald Mountain and another 18 miles the next day to Uncle Johnny's. Gotta get out of the cold. Can't wait for the warm weather. What happened to spring? See ya. Good morning again. I've been hiking probably for 40 minutes or so. I finally started to warm up. It's windy and snowy. Most of my crew is Tramley is ahead of me. So-called Slow Joe's really fast Joe. He doesn't eat breakfast. Hit the trail as soon as he got out of his bag. Starbucks and Ethan are ahead of me. And yeah, so we're aiming for 18 to get to Bald Mountain today, and then I think another 16 to 18 to get to Uncle Johnny's the next day. It's a hostel where we can resupply because we're running out of fuel and food. Pretty dang cold night. I hung some stuff outside the shelter, excuse me, to dry off. My tent was soaked from the night before. My sleeping bag. My tent blew away, and I found it in a frozen ball, having picked up some weight in ice and snow. Shook it out as best I could and stuffed it in the outside of my pack. Starbucks, some of his stuff blew away. Fortunately, we found it in the snow, so everything's intact. Really, it's pretty cold. It was in the, according to my thermometer, low 20s during the night. It was tough getting out of the rack and getting on the road. But for after the first while, it pretty much warmed up. I get to manage now because I've got every stitch of clothing I own on me. Long underwear, as well as my base layer, mid layer, puffy, and my rain jacket. So I've already opened my pit zips to try and manage the heat. The trail's been beautiful today. I know we've got some ups and downs, but so far it's just been rolling hills and really quite pleasant. This is an area where you can make decent mileage, other than perhaps the ice on the trail. So it's good. Yeah, so not the most comfortable of nights and mornings, but you know, this is what the trail is made up of, and I don't know quite what the normal is down here in North Carolina, but boy, it's an impressive experience between the Smokies and now this. It's just the mountains, the beautiful views, these walls. I'm walking through a forest of rhododendrons, green tunnel, so pretty. And despite being a little cold at the moment, not too bad, and certainly pretty dirty and sweaty. And with 18, probably still 17 miles ahead of me, I'm really quite glad I'm here. This is a good experience and a good time and good day. Talk soon. Okay, it doesn't get much worse than this. The winds have increased. It's there's snow drifts. It's pretty terrible. I'm like a mile or two from the shelter, I hope. Maybe 3, maybe more, but desperately trying to get there. 11:20 a.m. day 25.
Back into my filter bag.
Hey guys, day 25 has come to an end. We hiked 18.9 miles in a blizzard. Started off windy and cold. Then the winds became, I don't know, gale force, and the snow accumulated during the day. There were times where the snow was way past my thighs. It was brutal. Here with Starbucks and Nate. We made it to the Bald Mountain Shelter. We're all freezing, but we're going to make it through tonight. We haven't really eaten because we're too cold. And tomorrow we're going to hike, what is it, 17 miles to get to Uncle Johnny's? About 17 miles. So,
I got some. I already felt
really cold.
Oh, okay.
Let me send you. I wish I could show you the outside, but that's it for now. It's maybe I'll flip the camera around and you can see the outside. Hi guys, here's the outside. I don't know if it really shows the snow falling, but there is a lot of snow on the ground. I don't know, it seems to vary from 6 inches to 3 feet when we're wading through it, but it was so windy, it was really hard to tell how much fell. Right now we're sitting in the shelter trying to get warm and just no cooking tonight. Just nibbling in our bear bags and then drawing lots to figure out who's going to go hang the stupid bags. But tomorrow afternoon or evening we'll make it to Uncle Johnny's hostel and get warm for at least a day. Hey guys, day 26. It's probably around 9:30 in the morning, and we got at least a foot of snow total. This trail here has more, maybe 18 inches. It varies enormously by which way the wind's blowing. I've already had to go through drifts that were well over my knees, so it's short going. We're gonna, yesterday we did 18.9 miles. Today we're gonna do something like 16 to get to, hopefully to get to Uncle Johnny's hostel, which is adjacent to Erwin, Tennessee. I'm here with Starbucks and Nate, both of which have been great. They're a little bit ahead, I gotta catch up. Had a very cold night. It was not one part of me was warm. I think a 20-degree enlightened quilt with a bag liner is still insufficient. I think quilts just don't hold up in the cold weather. Because I was feeling drafts all night long and I adjusted that thing up and down. Took at least 15 minutes even to get my shoes on, frozen like a rock. Tore a shoelace. My gaiters, OR gaiters, so here's a shout down at Outdoor Research. Bought a brand new pair of gaiters in Hot Springs. Several days later the hook tore off. So my shoes are kind of loose right now, but thank God for waterproof socks because I got a lot of snow in my shoes. We're just kind of plowing through it. I'll let you see. There we go. I don't know how much you can see of that, but it's not pleasant. Who knows, maybe even take a zero in Erwin. But need to get out of this weather, and I think word to the wise, at least for me, even though we survived, we had a lot of dangerous situations yesterday, including missing a bad weather bypass at the end and climbing up over a bald for like 2 miles to the Bald Mountain Shelter. And we were just getting blown repeatedly down by the wind. Had a hard time getting up. It was late in the day, really slow going. Our speed was much reduced. We got in with not a lot of sunlight. No one cooked last night or this morning. Just eating a candy bar. Tried to drink some water. We're all dehydrated, but the water freezes very shortly. It was in the low 20s. It's still windy, but as we get to lower altitude, and as the day progresses, it's supposed to warm up. So, good news. We're all alive, and this is it, man, the AT experience. But my next AT experience, I think I'll be more mindful, and if it's going to be deep snow and low temps, then maybe I'll hold up somewhere. I think that might be the smarter move for me anyways. I hope all the AT hikers are out there safe. We saw quite a number of them heading off yesterday, and it was terrible visibility and gale force winds. Snow was just driving across your face all day long. Well, that's enough for now. Talk later. Yeah, we're still running into a lot of snow drifts here. Starbucks in front of me, all 6'4" of him is wading through it. He's 6'4". I'm a lot less. I could disappear in those snowdrifts and not to be found till summer. But this has really slowed down our progress having to go through this snow. It's about 12:30, day 26. Made it down a lower elevation, getting some water. There was no good water sources up high, and the temperature is more tolerant here. You can see there's a fair amount of mud, but great water source. We're all dehydrated. Now we're rehydrating, but we'll probably have another 10 miles to go. It's pretty hiking right now. We've gone from hypothermic and just soaked to, frankly, now a little sweaty, and none of us have really eaten much today, so we're hiking weak because it was too cold to eat breakfast. And we still have 11 miles to go to get to the hostel, and it's almost 1 o'clock, so, and this still a little bit slower hiking, so it's still going to be another tough day. And then I look forward to eating a lot and resting a lot in the next few days. Every time we do a big mountain and get snowed on, we kind of think that's the end of it, but here's a view here on the afternoon looking ahead, what must be 30-40 miles, some big mountains, and they're all covered with snow, so snow hasn't had the last of us, I guess, unfortunately. More beautiful views as we get close to Erwin. In our ride to the Super 8 motel, we're going to live large the next probably 2 days after our death-defying experience with this man here who saved us, Nate from Pittsburgh, and then Starbucks.
Oh, hi. Hello.
What a beautiful country we live in. This walk into Erwin, Tennessee, beautiful rivers and mountains covered with snow. You can see this trail here. We're only like a mile or so from our pickup point. It's just been a very difficult couple of days. It is so exciting to have that pickup coming and a hotel stay and some pizza and beer on the schedule. Hoorah! Good morning. Day 27 from the Super 8 motel in Erwin, Tennessee. We got picked up at the end of day 26 and brought here. We're going to take a zero. We're pretty beaten up over the last couple of days since we left Hot Springs. I'm just going to take a sit down here. You can see there's the Super 8 sign, I believe, in the background. Seems to be about 45 degrees outside. We left Hot Springs a couple of days ago and had a adventurous few days. Left Hot Springs and stayed at the Elmer Sunny Bank Inn. It was nice, other than no Wi-Fi. Headed out, very steep climb out of Hot Springs, and we did 16.3, and we stealth camped near the log cabin road at mile 291. Rained like crazy, wind was like crazy. Tents were practically pulled out of off their stakes. Things were pretty soaked the next morning, unfortunately. We did 16.3 that day. The next day we did 17 miles, a little over 17 miles to the Flint Mountain Shelter. It was cold but good hiking day, and that was day 24. We got to mile 308. Then the forecast was for 2 to 3 inches of snow, at least on atweather.org, my favorite or non-favorite website. So we set out that day from Flint Mountain. Oh, the lights just went out. I'm in the dark. Crap. And we did 18.9 to the Bald Mountain Shelter. And I can tell you that was probably the hardest hike of my life. It was 18.9 miles. We ended up at over 5,000 feet in a driving blizzard. There were snow drifts, some of them as high as my waist. My battery failed in my phone. It went from 50% to 0, perhaps due to the cold. And so I didn't have guidance. I didn't have any sort of GPS capability, and thank God we were together with Starbucks and Nate from PA,
and we had to stick together. I mean, the snowdrifts were huge. We were falling down all over the place. Near the end of the day, it was getting late. We were making slow progress because of the size of the snow, amount of snow, the wind, it had to be gale force. We're 5,000 feet. There was a place where you were supposed to take a bad weather turn off. Still counts as the AT. We missed it, so we took the terrible trail right over Bald Mountain. I got knocked down several times. Just taking a step, I got picked up and thrown. It was comical if it wasn't so unnerving due to being late in the day and so cold and so windy and so snowy. We stayed in the Bald Mountain shelter that night. I froze all night long. My gear, I got a 20-degree quilt. It's not enough. Even with the liner, not enough. I'm just frozen with that. So I'm going to have to keep that in mind on future days if it's getting into the 20s. Maybe stay at lower altitude or just take a zero or Nero. The morning we left, day 26 when we left Bald Mountain Shelter, it took me over 20 minutes just to get my shoes on. They were frozen like a rock. My gaiters were torn. I'd only had them for a few days. We were so cold, and one of the things is we all admitted it when we got off trail that all of us was pretty close to just like screaming and begging for help. But the thing is, when you're with a bunch of folks, no one wants to give in. Everyone wants to support each other. We all acknowledge we were in a dangerous situation, and there was no point in just kind of panicking. So we stuck together. We left Bald Mountain Shelter and we hiked 16.8 miles into the town of Erwin. We ended up staying. We're staying now at the Super 8. Even the 16.8 miles, the first half of the day was through pretty big snowdrifts. Some of them still past my knees, but it got us here, and so now we're safe. We're intact. And we had a big fat meal last night, and we'll probably have some more rest today. So today's day 27 will be a 0, and then we'll probably take off tomorrow, though the forecast is for heavy rain. When is the good weather coming on the AT? But actually, I listened to the forecast. The next 3 or 4 days supposed to be a lot of rain, and then it's supposed to get quite warm. So if there's just some way to escape this rain, it would be great. But oh well, that's the AT. No rain, no pain, no main. Talk to you later.